This is huge, and I don't say this to many people when I talk about this. And that is, number one, I want to be a good steward over what God did for me. And some people get victory, but then they go back and open the door to go back into a lifestyle and steal their testimony. And they venture into doing something like that. And I just wanted to be a good steward over what God had given me and not regress backwards by just saying, because I'm healed of terminal cancer now, I could pick up this food and eat it again. I just didn't. I just didn't want to do that.
Okay, this is what I think we should do. Welcome everybody beyond the letter. We've had some great episodes lately. Pastor Diego wouldn't know anything about them, but we've had some great episodes of the past recent that have done really great. A lot of great feedback. But today we got, as always, me and Caleb, People's Padres in the house. And then we have sent with us is Nancy, Jermaine, Andy, and Gabe. But I was just in a meeting before this with Pastor Diego. We got Alize on the camera. I was meeting with Pastor Diego earlier. We do a meeting every Thursday morning, but he happened to have the morning a little free time in between. So I said, come on the podcast.
Appreciate it.
It's been
Hey.
nice.
Mucho gracias.
And by the way, over
Mucho gracias.
over the years, you've been on television, you've did, all these things. You've been on television for your ministry, all that stuff like that. But I like to say on behalf of me and Caleb, you're welcome for giving your first viral post on Instagram.
Oh, yes.
So it's great.
Yes.
You made
On
a lot of people angry.
fatherhood.
Can I read you some of the things people were angry about on your
What constitutes viral?
100 grand
Yeah,
at
I think
least.
once you get past 100,000 views.
100,000.
Yeah. And I think once you get past around a couple hundred, shares and stuff like that.
When do you get sponsorships?
We could get them now if we wanted to, but
I'm just joking.
I send them to Caleb and the guys sometimes. Like, hey, look who emailed me who's trying to get
Yeah,
promoted
I'm
or
just trying to get some perks from this because I know a girl named Nancy who's trying to buy a bike. So.
Okay. All right, here we go. So this was
You want
yours.
to buy a bike?
You want a motorcycle?
No,
fathers
bicycle.
say, I don't know why my kids don't call me. I don't know why my kids don't visit.
Okay, there's that one. We know that one.
Are you the father? Unless you're disabled, I understand that. But if you can, there's always something that you could do. So I think if we...
Okay. So welcome to the club. Once you start going viral, you also start getting criticized. So welcome to that. Yeah. So far, you've had about 850,000 plays. Okay.
Oh, that's great. Wow.
Almost 1,500 comments, which was great. So obviously by and far, a lot of really positive stuff. People saying, man, please share this to my dad, share this to my mom. So, but I'm trying to read through here real quick. I'm trying to see who because there was a few that this is some guys like your age that are really mad by it. No, I raised my kids their whole life. Like at some point it needs to switch or something like that. So I'm trying to see what I would say. What I want you to comment on it. Anyways, I'm trying to look for some of the good ones. There's 1,500 comments, so it's hard. But I get the notification on this one sometimes because it collaborated with me. But,
I found one.
You got one? You got one? We got one.
It says fathers shouldn't give a bleep if their kid likes them or not. You brought them into the world. It's your job to raise them, not your choice. Wait. What?
Sounds like that Fences clip. Have you ever seen that Fences clip?
Not your choice.
With Denzel? That famous Fences clip where his son was like, Dad, why don't you like me? And he was like you? And then he gets into this deep speech about responsibility. Like, I provide a roof over your head. I do this, I do that. You, son? You want people to like you? This life ain't about people liking you. It's about fulfilling your responsibility. It was pretty deep. It's a pretty deep.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
There
a lot of people were bothered that you used the word irregardless. Apparently, because that's not a word.
Oh, well,
sounds like one.
Then you know what? You'll hear some more words today that are not words, so I can guarantee you that.
Some curse words?
That'll go viral.
Can we hear some
Here's
curse
a
words?
comment.
I found another one.
You have one?
I
You have one?
Yeah, so this one says, honestly, sometimes abandonment is a gift. My husband's dad abused them, mine left. I'd rather be
that's a recent one.
abandoned than abused any day.
Well, of course, there's always extremes.
Yeah.
You know, you take something out of context, and it'll always be criticized. You have to see. It's like the scriptures, the interpretation of scriptures. Let's read the beginning of the chapter, the end of the chapter. Let's know the history, who's the audience he was talking to. So I just think that a lot of negative comments that can come from that are just geared around daddy issues that the grown father never really had. So he just feels like I'm doing more than my dad did. Why should I have to even do more when my child is older? But if you put us all in a healthy home with an amazing father, you know, we might think a little bit differently on how my dad treated me, how my dad loved me. And every generation, to me, is supposed to be a better generation than the generation that was before, not less. So, you know, it's you know, we talked about the prodigal father. You know, there's, to me, a great example.
That was it. Like, because there was a guy who commented, you know, this guy, you know, crazy, blah blah blah. You know, who, you know, people just say crazy. People love saying stuff on, but I laugh at it because he was trying to say, like, and he literally said a father should never have to pursue their children once they become adults. And I'm thinking, and then I looked, and the guy was a pastor. And I looked at his and I laughed because I was like, does this guy know the story of the prodigal son? Like, does he know that the father chases the son? Yeah. There's a season the father let the son do whatever, but when the son was like, "Dad, I need you," the father ran. He ran. You know, like, he beat him to the punch. So
and didn't even let him confess all his sins. Kind of cut him off and just, that's enough. Put the ring, the sandals, the robe, throw the fatted calf and have a party. So
I'm surprised that was even controversial. Why anybody would argue against that? That's like,
I mean, it was all either disgruntled men or older men who for the most, there were some women who disagreed, but mostly those guys who, you know, it's I put a roof over your head, there's food in the fridge, you know. And then a couple Muslims commented, in the Muslim culture, it's the opposite. You know, parents take care of the kids until they're 18, then the kids have to take care of the parents. And it's like, okay, well, that's great for your culture, you know. I don't know much about the Muslim culture to know whether that's how healthy their culture is with that type of dynamic or not, right? So, yeah, but here's the other thing. Do this, because this has kind of become a popular aspect of the podcast that I always get comments on. People love when we talk about, or it gets into like some level of disciplines, whether it's ethical disciplines, moral disciplines, lifestyle disciplines, stuff like that. The first thing I want you to do because then Caleb's going to ask you some questions about your health. But the first thing I want you to do is you are a very regimented, disciplined person, kind of in every area of your life. Everything has a regiment, kind of a discipline, and you let room in there and stuff like that. Even like today, you had some time. Yeah, I'll jump on the podcast, so you're not, you know, religiously to the calendar, but you have pretty much a daily disciplines. What take us through 24 hours with you on a normal day. What does that look like? You can include work or not. I'm not necessarily talking about work schedule, like talking about just your daily discipline. And there's lifestyle in there. There's devotion time. Tell us about that, because people love hearing about that kind of stuff.
Okay. Now?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said when I thought, are we live?
Yeah, we've been live.
we've been live, bro.
We've been live for like 20 minutes. See,
that's why I won't be
boomer.
That's why I
gotta throw that boomer.
Yeah,
that
that's
boomer
why I won't be invited back. Well, usually there's a light that goes on or something. I didn't see no light.
We've never had a light in here that goes off.
The guy that has that movie steak that comes saying, ready, action.
Yeah, believe it or not, this is a live show pretty much.
Yeah.
Besides the stuff we make Corey cut that Caleb says. But,
well, you can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
Some people can't handle the truth.
Yeah. So there's probably like, you know, 80, 90% is going to be the same, but whatever I have to do the next day will drive more of the disciplines, because I may have to get up earlier to fulfill an early meeting or something of that nature. But the principles of the standards of what I live by are pretty much there all the time. So this morning I woke up at 5 o'clock. So I'm up at 5, and my normal amount of time to pray is about 50 minutes. That's my sweet spot. That's the time. If I do 50, I feel like my gas tank is filled. If I do less than that, I don't feel like I gave God enough. How God uses me to administrate, to pray, to discern, to pray for people, to be available, to crucify my flesh. It's all in there based upon the amount of time that I'm put in, that I feel strong, I feel filled. And that's not God putting it on me that's legalistic, and something's really going to go wrong if I don't put in that 50, or God's going to bless me more if I do it. It's just over whatever it is since, virtually 1978, so 45 years of salvation and 39 years of full-time ministry. What allows me to function at my optimum, where feel like I'm aware of God's presence. So it's around 50 minutes. So I'll pray 50 minutes, and then I'm a 2 to 3 chapter in my Bible reading a day. So I'll quickly move over to 2 to 3 chapters within the Bible. Not necessarily reading through the Bible. It's just kind of random books that I'll read through. But if I start a book, I'll finish the book. So if it's Colossians, if it's Hebrews, I'll finish it wherever that is. I'll go back to during the 15 minutes of prayer. I have Pandora and I have Darlene Scheck's worship, and it's very, very low.
That OG stuff.
Yeah, and you just have to find that worship style that really ministers to you, that really keeps you in the spirit, that can almost be the voice of God when you are praying. That right now I just need to cry because this song is speaking about worthiness, and I just want to talk to God about how worthy He is. So it just helps me so that my mind doesn't drift or get distracted from there. And then after that, I'll move into juicing. So I'll have my morning juice of celery, cucumber, parsley, cilantro, and kale, with a little bit of garlic in there and a little bit of ginger in there.
You juice it fresh every day, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much every day. Unless I'm extremely busy, then I'll go to Nectar and get a juice there. So then I juice, and then I go on my workout. So 5 days a week I ride my mountain bike. 2 days in that week I'll swim, and then 1 day I'll go on a run. So whatever I'm supposed to. So the workouts are the same every day. So like today was a mountain biking day. So I did that. Yesterday was swimming and biking. Tuesday was running. So every day there's that, and then Friday is the rest day. But going back to the regimen, so then I'll do the workout, and then I gotta feed the dogs, and then most of the time I'll do an infrared sauna, and so I'll sit in my sauna for 20 minutes, and then I'll go on to do the activity of the day, whether that is work related or playing golf with pastor friends, or Monday date night or date day with Cindy, and we'll go somewhere, and we'll do that. Oftentimes during the prayer, I always have a notepad and a pen next to me, because I always want to hear from God. I may get some insights or some directions about things I need to fix. But sometimes it's who I need to call that day, who I need to reach out to that day. And that becomes my daily assignment. So I need to call, let's just say, Joe that day and check up on him. I had a counseling appointment a couple days ago with a couple, and left them with kind of homework on what to do. And I just felt like the male of that marriage was on my heart, and so I just wanted to call him and encourage him. So he came up, and then it's maybe some emails that I need to really respond to, are reminded to me during that prayer time that becomes my work time. So a lot of discipline related to that again, in the book that I wrote is ridiculous responsiveness. And that's kind of how I live my life. I don't like people waiting for me to get back to them. So I will tackle the problem as quickly as I can. I first analyze it, figure out what needs to be, but then I'll execute very, very quickly after that, so I don't get log jam with new stuff coming my way. So yeah.
Wait, by the way, our dad had a book that recently came out, 44 Habits to Hack Life.
Yeah.
44 Habits to Hack Life on Amazon, or I think diegomesa.org. So go grab it if you want, because it's all this stuff in depth a little bit more, but it's more principle based. But so did you get into like the afternoon?
Yeah. So then, based upon how, again, the season of my life, earlier in my life, I was a workaholic and didn't really have no discipline in the amount of hours that I would put in. I let the ministry, I let the people, I let the problems drive that, and that created imbalance in my life. Just burnt out, frustrated, angry, not at my best. So, when I feel like my day is done, I don't stay at the office that long. So I'll go home. I may right now, as Grandpa, my dad, is aging, I'm spending more and more time with him. So there might be 3, 4, 5 times a week I just swing by to hang out with him after I do my work in the office or wherever, and I just hang out with him for a minute or two, and then probably 4 times a week I go to Sprouts because I make my own dinner.
And you make it all fresh.
I make it all fresh.
Stuff, right?
So I have to go get whatever I have to get, and I go home, and it takes me about 30 minutes to 6 days a week. I eat a salad with wild fish, and then 1 day a week I eat a grass-fed meat. So somewhere around 3 to 4, I'm beginning to make my dinner, put in that half an hour, and then I'll virtually eat the dinner, and probably hanging out with your mom, and then grandkids are coming over, and we have to decide if we're going to binge Netflix and watch that, or we're going to have the kids and we're going to turn the TV over to them, or we're going to figure out something to do with them. So
you do smoothies every day, right?
So smoothies are done like 2 to 3 times a week. So I'll make like about 4 cups of smoothies, and I'll freeze them, and then that's my dessert. So after I eat my salad or fish or meat, then I bring out like a frozen smoothie, and I let it defrost for about 10 minutes, so it's not hard, but it's kind of a little bit slushy, like ice cream, the texture of ice cream. And then I eat that. So there's, the unpasteurized milk and the berries and the bananas and the raw eggs and the honey that's in there.
Raw cacao chips sometimes too, right?
Yeah, always.
Raw cacao?
Love it.
Yeah.
They're my favorite.
If people want more about that, you could type in YouTube, Abundant Living Family Church, Healthy Habits. During COVID, we filmed, I think, 2 episodes with Pastor, and he taught you how to make a couple of these things. We did, I think, your salad, and I think we did your smoothies, if I remember correct. Maybe we did juicing, one of those. But you go on YouTube, type in Abundant Living Family Church, Healthy Habits, and we did a couple episodes that were fun. They're like Martha Stewart cooking style things that they were fun doing them during COVID. Do we miss anything else? What time are you going to bed every day?
Pretty much, if it's not a Wednesday night, church night, if it's not, I'm in the 44 hacks that I'm teaching on Tuesday night. That's the sprint that we're doing for 6 weeks. So I'll get, I'll come home late there. But on a normal, I'm heading up to bed at 8 o'clock. So I'm saying goodnight to your mom, and I'm walking up, and just depending on how tired I am, within a half an hour to an hour, I would be out. So I definitely get 8 hours of sleep because of the amount of because I work out so much.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I have to. I've exerted a lot of energy in working out. You know, along with any work stress or anything related to that.
Did you? I think I missed it. Did you say your sauna time? Did you
Yeah,
say that?
infrared sauna. Yeah,
said
in
that?
the morning.
Oh yeah, the 20. Okay, yeah, yeah.
And how old are you, so people know how old you are?
I'm 62.
So you're 62, and would you say you're in the best shape of your life?
I'm let's redefine that. I'm the most healthiest place of my life.
Okay.
Because I always say this, being in shape is outward. Being healthy is outward and inward. And there's a lot of people that are in shape. They have 5% body fat. I mean, they are toned to the bone. But they have unhealthy habits in their lives. They don't sleep enough. They hold on to bitterness, unforgiveness in their lives. So I'm more of a healthier person than I've ever been before. I probably have been in way better shape in my life as a younger man when I ran marathons and did triathlons and things of that nature. But
Isn't your resting heart rate like 40 beats per minute?
Yeah, sometimes it's 38.
So you have to be in the best shape of your life, because when I was a teenager at my top peak performance in college, I was 39 beats per minute, and the school thought I was dead.
Yeah.
But I was 39 beats per minute as a 18-year-old, and that's crazy that you are 38. I think Lance Armstrong at his peak was like 35 or something, right around there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, so to me, like, heart rate is a great signifier of like how healthy and how in shape you are, and that just is kind of mind blowing that you're 62 and that you're 38 beats per minute. I don't know if people listening understand like how crazy that is.
Yeah. I think if other people are older, they'll be listening to Dad thinking that there's probably something wrong with him. Not physically, but mentally. How is this guy doing all of these? How is that discipline so established? You know, in terms of health, and he's talked about it for years, taught the church for years. But it's just you hear it over and over, and you just go like, man, that's crazy. And someone who's older, who's going to doctors a lot, they're going to know how kind of crazy that is.
Yeah.
And when you're in your 20s, you just think that even part of your 30s, you think you're invincible. And then when you start to go to your first doctor's appointment, they put you on cholesterol or something like that, medication, then you're like, okay, something's got to change, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, there's a vast difference between being in shape and being a healthy person. And our society is geared toward propagating and commercializing and promoting somebody being in shape with a certain image. But inside that person, they're dealing with worry, anxiety, fear, bitterness, jealousy, unforgiveness in their lives. And that affects you. It affects you one way. It eventually is going to come out in some form or fashion. And so people, they can't sleep at night, because they're looking at the ceiling at 2 o'clock because they're so paranoid about something or worried about something. They don't know how to rest. People in shape might look good, but they don't know how to rest. And with a busy society where I always have to have something in my hand or be doing something, to be still and to rest, I think, is an expression of health. How healthy are you to be quiet and to be still?
And you can go to the opposite end of the spectrum, being so they're calling it now like a body. You can have like a sort of body dysmorphia, like you see it with like weightlifters a lot, and a lot of them are dying really young because a lot of them are on steroids, but it's just because we don't think about how you can actually develop a body dysmorphia when you work out that intensely and you don't rest enough. You're never satisfied with how you look, and so you gotta inject this or do this and add this, and then you die. And that's the thing. Like, what I find fascinating about people who live to the oldest ages, they're not huge looking Arnold Schwarzenegger type men. They're actually fairly thin.
Yeah.
And their chief exercise is actually walking, but they walk a lot. And they're actually fairly thin, and they don't have this crazy workout routine. It's just a matter of limiting your caloric intake, your BMI, having a small BMI, and walking a lot.
So did you just watch, there's a documentary on Netflix called Live to 100, and they found that the people that live the most to 100 live in Okinawa, Japan. And one of the ladies that talks about it, literally Pastor Diego just mentioned it, because they asked her, so why do you think there's so many people around here that live to 100? And she was like, don't get angry. That's one. Wow. And then the other one she said was to be joyful, which all of these things are found in the Bible.
And where is this?
This is on Netflix.
No,
it's
what
called
country?
Okinawa, Japan.
Yeah, they're called blue zones.
Blue zones, yeah. So there's a documentary on there, and then literally she mentions, eating. They eat from the land.
We have a blue zone right by us in our
Loma
backyard.
Linda.
There's only 7 in the world.
Yeah, Loma Linda.
And Loma Linda is one of them because of the Jehovah's Witness.
It's the
Seventh-day
Seventh-day
Adventist.
Seventh-day Adventist, not
Yeah,
Jehovah's
they don't
Witness.
eat meat.
Yeah.
And then,
But
Seventh-day
it's simple
Adventist.
things like this.
Yeah.
What she's saying that's overlooked. It's generosity. Generosity.
they're very communal in Japan, aren't they?
You remain a generous
community.
person as opposed to selfish. It's all about
Yeah.
me. It's amazing relationships and friendships in your life. It's the husband and wife still loving each other and making love. Still making love into their elderly age, kind of thing. All these things make for a healthy person, spirit, soul, and body. Not carrying.
And
the stresses
what's
of
interesting,
life.
Japan you don't think of as a Christian nation, and so what I think is fascinating is like it's kind of a natural law in regards to longevity and livelihood and just living a happy life. It's like there's like this natural law God has built into the human race, where you either if you abide by it, you get blessed. If you don't abide by it, you experience curses. It's not like you have to be a Christian in order to have this like long happy
grace?
life.
Yeah.
It's a common grace. And Asians have a lot of wisdom along the lines of health, and they've always had it. They're ancient medicines, and they're very holistic. And I really appreciate that about the Asian culture. The more you learn about kind of their philosophy on life, what they think about health and how they live, how they function. It's something that we can learn from. I think.
Yeah. Definitely. You've helped like a lot of people over the years. Would tell people like what was the turning point, because we got some listeners that don't have any relationship with our church or anything like that. What was your turning point? Because you weren't like that your whole life. I remember growing up, your favorite thing to do on your birthday was go to Claim Jumper and have an eclair. The frozen ice cream eclair from Claim Jumper is this massive thing, like the size of the table.
And then his Genie's grinders, huge subs that you get at
huge
work.
Sub, and or he loved to go to the Hat and get chili. And you were always disciplined working out wise, so you felt fine cheating because you were always working out and everything. So what was the turning point where you stopped? And you said, what do you say? If I was ever going to die tomorrow, this would be my last meal. What is it?
Well, I'm believing God that my eyes will not grow dim, my hearing will be strong, and I'll have all my teeth and gums till I'm 95 years old.
95.
When I pass 95 years old, any extra days is God just blessing me. So when that time comes, when I feel like I'm getting ill, barring an accident,
right.
an ailment, an illness has to come upon somebody for them to transition to glory. So, bring me a pastrami from the Hat. Bring me some chili cheese fries. I'll probably get a shake from In-N-Out or something like that, and then just leave me alone. Let me kiss my family and close my eyes.
So
Yeah.
So a hat. You probably just made hat stock price jump up right now.
You're functioning in that grace. Because here's another thought I just had right now along these lines. Why is it, especially the South, the Bible Belt, why is it Protestant Christians are the most overweight and obese people? Some of the no, seriously, like it's an epidemic, and we're churchmen, and so we like to. I think it's important for us to see the epidemics in our culture, in our church, and address them and call them out, and offer insight and offer solutions and conviction and rebuke, just like we would do for the pornography epidemic and for the divorce epidemic, and for enough isn't talked about the obese epidemic, which is a sin. I think I think it's one of the 7 deadly sins in the Catholic Church, gluttony.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's talked about enough. Why is it?
Gluttony's talked about more in the Bible than alcoholism
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, alcohol. Yeah, exactly. And so why is it that seems to be an aspect, particularly of the Protestant Christian, even thinking of the Bible Belt, Southern Bible Belt. I mean, it's crazy now. It's really crazy now. It's like 60, 70%.
Well, you know
of
that,
Americans.
I don't know if we ever did it
and
here
the Bible
before.
Belt, it's even greater.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
why is that?
Have we said it on the podcast
Why is
before?
that?
The famous what? Oh, maybe early on, but I don't know if you know, Dad. There was, D.L. Moody, the famous preacher, and then there was Charles Spurgeon. Well, Moody was this big overweight man, and Spurgeon was known for his cigar smoking, and so D.L. Moody publicly said, if Spurgeon was the Christian man that everyone puts him to, he wouldn't smoke cigars in excess, and then Spurgeon's response was. And if you were as much a Christian as you were, you would not eat as much as you eat. And Spurgeon says, I do not smoke in excess. What would be smoking in excess would be to have 2 cigars at once. I only have one. And he said, but you, D.L. Moody,
great
well, we do have a lot of double standards in the church.
Yeah.
There's a lot of judgmental people.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes we don't take the log out of our own eye. Like you're going to criticize somebody drinking alcohol, but you would never think to lose weight if you're obese, or you would never think to, So I'm just curious, like, why do you think that is? Why do you think that Protestant Christians seem to be
have
kind
that
of
double standard.
and fall to that kind of vice of obesity? What is that? Is that a spirit? Is that we always talk about spirits, right? The spirit of lust, the spirit. I mean, isn't there a spirit of gluttony?
Yeah. Well, maybe. I'm not an expert in demonology to respond to that.
Or addiction.
Yeah. It's just, people have defined sin as, really bad sins and kind of acceptable sins, black and white sins, respectable sins, irrespectable sins, and it falls in those categories.
Yeah.
You know what? If I cussed and I drank and I took drugs, that would be really bad. But if I gossip and I eat a lot of fried food and I'm 100 pounds overweight, and I read in the Bible someone would say that about godliness. Bodily exercise profit a little, but godliness is profitable for all things.
Yeah.
So this body is decaying; it's going to die. But the reality is that I think our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. I believe that we are stewards. It's debatable whether I can increase the longevity of my life if God has already spanned that out. But I will challenge that equation. The quality of my life is in my hands, though. The quality. Maybe I can't add a day to my life because that has been predestined. But I promise you, the quality of your days you can determine. So if I'm smoking all my life or eating too much,
drinking soda, every day.
Everything like that, then you know what? I start having to take medication, feeling fatigued, sleeping all the time, lacking energy, can't play with my grandkids, so on and so forth. So I just think it's become very acceptable to our society that to not deny oneself. And we are eating out of pleasure, not because we need to, but because we want to. You know what? Nobody is ever. We don't preach sermons like that about that. We don't bring up the subject along those lines.
Yeah.
Our examples in our lives, whoever that might be, our role models,
Right.
don't exemplify
Right.
that kind of life. So I think we fall into a system that just perpetuates it from one generation to one generation, and they, you can excuse it to the genes of my family, and my grandmama was this way, my grandpapa was this way, so I'm going to be this way, or Diego, I appreciate what you're saying, but my grandma was 100 years old and she was 100 pounds overweight, and she had bacon every day of her life, or smoked a cigarette all the day. Well, that's an exception, number one. Number two, you can't compare apples with apples because every person is different in how they dealt with the stresses of their lives. And we live in a totally different world than someone did 100 years ago who had to go up into the field and milk the cow kind of thing, and and raise kids or whatever it was. It was a totally different world that exists today. But that's what I'd say about the reason why so many people are doing it. There's not enough people speaking against it and saying you could possibly add 10 years to your life or improve the quality of your life, or the Bible has enough about how we should eat, in the Bible.
Right.
And you know what? Yeah, I know that, all things are sanctified by prayer. And, back in the day, this is before you guys, there was tangents, and I literally heard someone pray over their fatty food and pray all the calories out.
Cast the calories out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The church does some weird.
Because you can have what you say, and as long as you believe it, then, let me go ahead and...
Lord, we rebuke these calories in the name of Jesus.
And isn't it like, maybe the statistic, it's like 90 or high percentage of illnesses in hospitals are preventative based upon diet? Do you know the percentage, the exact percentage?
I don't remember the percentage, but you open
the majority,
yourself,
correct?
Open yourself up to a
the
ton
majority
of
of
things
people in
obesity.
the hospital.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to now just get into his cancer journey if we can, because I just
that's what I was trying to get to when I asked him when was your turning point of your healthy living. So
if you could describe, because I think this is going to create some good viral clips. Well, because I think just the heading pastor defeats stage 4
people are listening
cancer.
to this podcast. You're hearing what Caleb will do after the podcast.
Yeah, well, Andy's the mastermind bit with that, but I'm just kind of throwing it out there for them to catch it. But like pastor defeats stage 4 cancer through diet. That's just a powerful title. And I know some of the top men self-help speak on this a lot. Joe Rogan and a lot of these guys. It's a very popular topic. And so if you could explain for us exactly what you had, how bad was it?
Okay. So in 2008 of June, I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer, terminal, given a 50% chance to live 1 year, and the longest living patient, according to the foremost oncologist in the Kaiser system, was 6 years. Wow. So stage 4 means it originated in one area of your body, but it is now spread. And it metastasized, which means spread, through my bones. So that particular year, meaning 2007, and then that leading up to June of 8, I had run 4 marathons. So I was already running marathons with stage 4 cancer in me because I ran the LA Marathon in March of 2008 and then would be diagnosed in June of 2008. So that's how it happened, and I did traditional because I didn't know nothing of the homeopathic, naturopathic, eating right, any of that stuff. So I just, followed the medical practice and did 2 years of chemotherapy. And I began to think, do I feel this way because of cancer, or do I feel this way because of what I'm taking to so-called prevent the spread of the cancer, or to stop it in any form? I thought, you know what? Do people die of cancer, or do they die of how it's treated? And I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. That people have to follow their own course. But 1 year into the diagnosis, I talked to a naturopathic doctor, and he talked about eating, he talked about diet, he talked about drinking, he talked about exercise, he talked about sleep, he talked about detoxification, which was just all foreign to me, that something like that could rid cancer out of your body. And God bless them, doctors have all this education, and they know the answers, and we have, tons of years of treating this, whether it is surgery, radiation, and chemo, because in 1971, President Richard Nixon declared war on cancer, and if I just follow this regimen, I'm going to get well again. Until I heard from the doctor when I asked him, if I don't take chemo anymore, and I tell you I'm feeling really good, and I'm going to start running marathons again, what would you tell me? He said, you'd be committing suicide if you ever came off of this chemo that you are on. And he says, what you are on, Diego, the chemo, there is no scientific proof that it shrinks any tumors, nor is there any scientific proof that it eliminates cancer. But for some reason in your CAT scans, we are seeing tumors that were once there gone, and we're seeing tumors shrink, because every 3 months I'd have to go in and get new blood work or get a CAT scan to see what was going on in the progression of it. So all that was taking place began to draw a picture to me that I could take my health into my hands, and I wanted to decide my future rather than someone else deciding my future based upon how I felt and based upon the information that I heard from the doctor that says, you're incurable. We're just trying to prolong your life. And I thought to myself, I'm not taking treatment to prolong my life, to give me another 6 months or a year. I was taking treatment to get rid of this. And out of your mouth, you said, I will never be cured. So that's when my mind began to be open to other avenues that were available to me. And I went down this road that was very foreign to me of how cancer works, the nature of sickness and disease, in the sense that God has created our immune system, and our immune system is the first defense to fight any form of disease. And that immune system is based upon the fuel or the food we put in to allow our cells of our body to function at its optimum. And when you don't feed it right, it's like having a $300,000 car and putting cheap fuel in it. And I don't care how expensive that car is, it will not run at its optimum. With low octane, you've got to put the highest octane in it. And so that's when all this stuff began to flood my mind, and I went from, reading this article to researching this doctor's report to finding out, wow, these are not fakes and phonies and faddish people, quacks. This is true research, and seeing documentation of people that had stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 various cancers that were now not only in remission, but 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, it's gone and it never came back, and they're living fruitful lives, that said, okay, I think I'm ready now to explore this avenue of taking control of my health into my hands. And so that's when I went and saw 3 naturopathic doctors to see what similarities they had or what differences they had in this whole naturopathic world that existed. And I found out that about 80% of all these doctors, it's all driven around sleep and exercise and detoxification and diet and removing negative emotions from you. They might have their own little enema flush or vitamin C drip or some form of machinery they were going to use. But 80% of it was very, very simple driven by the exercise, the sleep, the detoxification, the cleanliness of food, the water intake. And so that's when I began to, I came off of chemo and took this road that this naturopathic doctor was sharing with me and began that lifestyle. And I'm not afraid to eat a pastrami. I'm not afraid to eat a cookie or whatever somebody else would normally have. But the reality is when you come from where I came from, not only hearing the prognosis of your life or the diagnosis of your life, but also to see how you felt and you don't feel that way anymore. And now you have more energy and now you have more strength and the quality of your life. And like I talked about, I'm healthy. I'm like, I feel really healthy. Why would I regress to put that back in my body when I have the benefit? If I didn't have the benefit of it, the bottom line, the outcome and the results, then I'd question and I may do another alternative or regress. But because the outcome is really great, that's why I've chosen to stay with the diet and the regimen. But also, too, this is huge, and I don't say this to many, many people when I talk about this. And that is, number one, I want to be a good steward over what God did for me. And some people get victory, but then they go back and open the door to go back into a lifestyle and steal their testimony. And they venture into doing something like that. And I just wanted to be a good steward over what God had given me and not regress backwards by just saying, because I'm healed of terminal cancer now, I could pick up this food and eat it again. I just didn't. I just didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So how many years since you were diagnosed?
So I was diagnosed in June of 2008. So
15
count
years.
the years, 15 years. So I was on I was on chemo for 2 years. So I've not seen a doctor, had any medication, or had a CAT scan in 13 years. Oof. So people always ask me, don't you go see a doctor for a checkup? I say no. They say, why? Well, number one, I'm not expecting it to come back. And number two, I'm not trying to be illogical or irresponsible by not going. I base it on how I feel.
Right.
I feel how I feel.
Right.
Your body will tell you how you feel if you listen to it.
Yeah.
You know what? Pain is a warning sign. It's a warning sign that something is not right, and you got to go in there and you got to fix it. It's your first form of defense, kind of thing. But we want to drug the pain right away.
Yeah.
And you never really resolve the cause of that pain. You just deal with the symptom. I'm just going to take 2 aspirin and it'll be gone. But why do you get a headache? Let's go to the cause of why you get this. Let's not just deal with the symptom. So for me, in those early days, if God heals me by this date, then I can run this marathon. And then that date passed, and if God heals me by this day, I could still run the New York Marathon. And that's what people just get it out of me. For what? To go back to your imbalanced lifestyle? And so that was my journey to learn that I don't want God to just heal me of the symptoms. I want God to heal me of the causes. That's allowing an open door.
And you have your
to come in my
versions of
life.
doctors, right? Like you go to naturopathic doctors.
Yes.
Like that is something you do regularly do. So,
Blood work.
Right.
And
So
blood work
because mainly because I'm still a very active athlete, a high endurance athlete. I did a triathlon a month ago kind of thing. And so I want to know how to age properly by keeping to the endurance sports things that I do. So I have blood work not to find out if I have cancer. I have blood work to make sure the organs of my body are functioning at its optimum, you know, the white blood count, red blood count, you know, things of that. My hormonal levels are strong because as a man ages, his hormones begin to drop. And so to keep that level of energy, that's why I'll get that blood work.
You don't drink caffeine, right?
No, I have no caffeine.
No, obviously, yeah. You don't have alcohol in your diet. If you need energy, what do you do? If you feel yourself kind of dipping a little bit, is there anything you do to give you energy?
To be honest, I don't have dips.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like I don't wake up and say I don't feel like working out.
So from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m., you're pretty, and you take naps sometimes, but you're pretty, your energy's there, right?
Yeah. So if I take a nap, it's because I worked out really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I had a really stressful day that as I get in front of the TV like most people do, I begin to doze. My doze is not more than 20 minutes, if that, 15. It's a little power nap where some people,
they go to bed.
Snore, they take an hour, 2 hours, and then, 2 hours later they're going to bed or something like that. So I just believe in that 8 hours sleep to regenerate my body, bring healing to my body, bring my white blood count levels up. So
do you ever get headaches?
I don't want to say never but I want to say
not enough that you notice.
No, I don't get headaches. The only time I want to be honest. The only time I get a headache is when I work out too much, because my problem is not
you don't work out.
Don't work out. It's I work out too much. So I could sit on a bike for 4 hours and then come and film something on Saturday for church, and then get up in the morning and swim before I come to church and preach 2 sermons, and then get on the bike on Sunday night. So I can overdo it because I enjoy it so much. So when I maybe put 2 or 3 hard workouts back to back, which I'm not supposed to do, I could work out, but I have to rest and tone it down. But sometimes that tells you how much energy I have. I don't pull back, I pull forward. My body gets tired. And then this is huge for me. And I've learned this through peeling the onion of finding out the cause of where. Remember I told you I don't tell a lot of people what I'm about ready to tell you? This is it right here.
Okay.
All of us have a makeup about us. Our makeups are different. How we respond, how we interpret, how we react, even the genetic part of our lives. We're all different. Our makeups are different. You have to figure out your makeup. You're going to pray to God and ask God to bring that, protect me, guard me, show me, help me. That's back to that stewardship of that kind of thing. I have a propensity to internalize things. That's why I have to maintain this lifestyle. Because I sometimes can't control the fact that I'm going to internalize something. Now I'm doing better, but that's my makeup. That's my makeup. If you say something bad about me, there are some people, I don't give a care or a rip what you said to me. I go and have my hamburger and I go to Disneyland and I sleep good at night. I'm not like that. If you say something you don't like me, I internalize that. Why doesn't Caleb like me? What did I do wrong to hurt Caleb? Why did this member leave the church? Why did they go to the church down the street? Is that pastor better than me? And so I can hold on to that for minutes and for hours and for days. So I have my own personal defense system that tries to shut that down. But because I know I'm vulnerable and susceptible to that, that's why I maintain this certain lifestyle
Yeah.
Because that will counterattack that thing that's going to break down my immune system, which is the stress. So going back to your question, is that when I work out too much, and then I take on too much in my mind, my body then gets inflamed. I can feel inflammation. I start feeling a little sluggish, a little tired. My workouts are the same, but they're not as strong. And maybe, very rarely, will I feel a little bit of a headache. So my counter attack to that is I have to back down from the workout a little bit from that, and I've got to go into prayer and forgive whoever I need to forgive, and tell myself, stop it, Diego, stop it. Stop thinking about that. Stop meditating on it. Let it go. Give it to God and stop it. And almost like, if you don't, you're sinning, Diego. You're sinning, Diego. And so my response to that is internally, I'll just say, I don't care. So like, for an example, you tell me, I hate you. Then I'm not going to tell you to your face, but in me, so that I don't internalize it, I say, I don't care.
Right.
It's my trigger word that stops the progression of something.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't care. And sometimes I have to say I don't care a bunch of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Till it sits in.
Yeah,
Till you
really.
convince yourself.
Yeah. So, if 13 years ago, what would the doctor have told you if you asked him, what are the odds that I'm alive 13 years from now? What would he have told you?
Oh, 0.
0%.
Zero.
Is what he would
because
have
from
told you.
his lips, again, because we have amazing, beautiful doctors in our church who loved me through this illness. They wanted to get the best treatment and advice that I could have concerning this. So they sought out in the Kaiser system, which 3 of the doctors, Dr. Rodney, Dr. Mark, and Dr. Michael, recommended to me, because he didn't see patients. He was a oncologist, kidney oncologist, who is now in research. He was in research. And they called him personally, say, would you take on our pastor as a patient? From his lips, he said, the longest living patient that had clear cell renal carcinoma, stage 4 kidney cancer, is 6 years. That's the longest patient that we have ever worked with.
Within the Kaiser system, which is a huge system. Kaiser's huge.
Yeah. So it came from his lips.
And that is under the banner of chemotherapy and modern medical intervention. So you're not, they don't do any of the holistic things that you
Not
did.
at that time. I don't know if they're doing immunotherapy now. I think they are. But, again, what I heard back in my research, I could be corrected, but back then I heard that the average MD had only had about 24 hours of nutritional education and training in their degree. So they're not.
And what, it was
Oh,
an
gosh.
8 year degree for a doctor. and
Yeah.
only 24.
Wow.
So
24 unit or 24 unit
When they-
hours,
Wow, that's
or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that can't be for all doctors. Some doctors genuinely want to think about other treatments because they're seeing the results that are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's a bigger wave nowadays talking to some doctors, and some are, some teach at universities and stuff, and they're getting kind of kicked out programs and stuff, but because they're, and a lot of them are on Joe Rogan often, but because they're saying, yeah, this is what my education taught me, but you should check out this, and then they get in trouble by the board, and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
because holistic doesn't make money, and that's the biggest thing. And
Well,
so
it makes
you
money
can't-
for the farmers.
well,
But it doesn't make money because it is.
because
I mean, it's
there's
expensive
no-
and there is money behind
nobody's
it.
gonna
But,
fund
but
the research.
pharmaceutical industry.
But
Yeah,
your insurance
nobody's
ain't going
gonna-
to pay for the
Yeah,
cucumber.
nobody's gonna.
Yeah, exactly.
And none of our institutions are going to fund the research necessary. This is why I
Yeah.
respect Russia so much, because Russia is one of the few nations that funds research of holistic therapy.
You're not gonna like this, but so does Israel. So,
Oh yeah. Well, but because they
Give 'em their
they-
flowers,
but
Caleb.
that's because they
Give 'em their
value.
flowers.
No, that's because they value their people, and they know they want
Yeah.
them to live long and healthy lives. I mean, Israel is very nationalistic, and they want their
Yeah.
people to be strong and healthy as
Live
possible. And Russia is the same way, and America, on the other hand, is just a mess.
I have a
You
question.
know,
dietarily, yeah.
I have a question because what do you guys think about this? I just had this idea.
I have no thoughts.
You know how you know how when we pay a deductible, right? We go to our insurance, we go
Yes.
to get health care. Do you think it's possible for there to be a system where you pay a premium monthly like premium subscription like you would for insurance, and then you just pay a deductible when you go to the grocery store? You think that's like borderline socialism or no? You think that's like
Borderline socialism. Well, I mean, maybe theory, because from what I understand, with some farmers, you can pay them like kind of a subscription model and stuff like that. But the problem is deductibles work in the sense that we're all pitching in to pay insurance, and only the people who need it will take from it. But the moment you move it into diet, that's something everyone should be doing every day. So it's a different pool. It's a totally different type of pool. So you probably couldn't create some type of insurance plan around that, because everybody would take advantage of that every day. Insurance works in the way that they're saying 90% won't need this at the same time, but at some point 100% will more than likely need it. But for you, it may be in 5 years. For them, it may be in 10 years. But if we all of a sudden were like, we can all go to Sprouts and swipe our card, well, 100% of us are doing that. And then the insurance company loses all their money overnight. So it would, because there are Christian insurance plans at the same time as well, Christian-owned insurance companies that do healthcare. And I think one of the biggest ones does some stuff with Pray.com and stuff like that. But the whole makeup is we're all not supposed to use it at once. So it couldn't work in that way. Not in the traditional sense that we know doctors. But
yeah.
you could probably
Yeah,
create a pharmaceutical, like a holistic pharmaceutical line that does a type of insurance thing or model or something like that.
And just
you know?
just to emphasize, like, this isn't medical advice, right? So if you have make sure you listen to your doctor. So we don't want to be responsible for anybody, you know.
Corey will have to put a little asterisk in the comments. These individuals are not doctors.
Yeah.
So they can. I want to just, for people that are just hearing about this for the first time and educating themselves beyond the allopathic world, which is the natural, medical industry, the way we know it. Healing Strong is a network. It's called Healing Strong. The Truth About Cancer is a network. Chris Wark has a lot of information. So that's how it started with me. It just started with an article, and it just started with a book. And that's where I would tell people to, if they wanted to be exposed to more along this line.
So give us your top three of your bulletproof remedies that you felt helped you the most heal you of cancer. Top three. Now mainly I'm talking about in the natural. I'm talking about in the natural, because I know you can go into spiritual. I understand that, but top three, and then maybe top three natural, and then give me your top three spiritual. Give me your top three natural, top three spiritual. That got you through it.
Okay, so we'll go natural since you said natural first. So I'll do natural. So natural was diet. So it's all eating. It's all directed toward eating. Mm-hmm. It's not eating processed foods.
Okay.
No bread, no sugar, no processed
bread,
sugar, no refined
it says
breads,
raw as it can be, the way God created it, without man's fingerprint in it to manipulate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And Jordan Rubin has a great book on that, right? That helped you.
Yes.
With the foods and stuff.
Yeah, it says
the Maker's Diet.
It says clean. It says raw. It's So diet is huge, because you don't want the herbicides and the pesticides that are sprayed on stuff. You want it clean. You don't want the hormones that are put into that because it's all about going to market for them to get paid. So the faster they could grow something, the quicker they get paid. That's why organically you pay more because it took longer to harvest it.
Yeah.
So diet is huge.
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing I would say is exercise. The body is meant to sweat. People don't in America like to sweat. They put too much deodorant on, too much perfume on. They cover their heads up because they don't want sun, vitamin D. Sweat is God's way of detoxifying the body. So exercise allows you not only to be limber and not only burn calories and not only getting the organs of your body flowing and moving, but it allows you to sweat.
Yeah.
Toxins, because we live in a toxin world. And then the third thing would just be sleep. Those are my top. I can add more, but you asked me for three. I'd say diet, and then I'd say what?
You said diet. You said sweat. And you said
exercise,
sleep.
and sleep.
So
Those
we
are my
need
three.
we need an S for the first one. So you said sleep, sweat, and we need one for that. Let's ask Chat GPT. This is what I do sometimes.
All right.
So what is a synonym for diet that starts
And then this-
with an
Soups.
S? Let's see. Let's see what Chat GPT says.
I don't think there is one.
Oh, bro. Sustenance.
It's
Don't say okay me. That's Chat GPT.
not bad.
Sustenance. That's
Well, I don't think of food
That's
when I think
diet.
sustenance. Maybe I do.
that's what the word means.
Really? Okay. Good job,
I need some
ChatGPT.
I need
I
some
think it's
sustenance.
found in the Bible.
Good job.
Yeah, you're right. So sustenance, sustenance.
Yeah, you're
sleep,
right. That's growing
and
on
sweat.
me now. Sustenance.
Sustenance, sleep, and sweat.
I
You
can
make
rock
a
with
shirt
that.
like that. You
I
should
can
make a
rock
shirt.
with that. Sustenance. Yeah, I like
sweat,
it.
sleep.
Sustenance, sweat, and sleep.
That's it. I got a story with this, and we want your spiritual three. Is when back in the day when you first got into this lifestyle, what a lot of people don't realize is because you got into it probably mid 2009, mid 2009. Is that about it?
Full blown 2010.
Full blown 2010. But you'd started doing
Yes.
chemo and it at the same time,
Yeah,
right?
I was juicing.
You remember
during
what year
chemo.
what year was the first year you went and met Jordan Rubin? 2009.
No, I didn't meet Jordan. I talked to Jordan in 2009 over the phone. I
Right.
met him
Okay.
in 2010.
So what a lot of people don't realize back then is, and we forget, there was no such thing as organic at grocery stores back then. There's no such thing. They just go to a grocery store. That nothing said certified organic, and if it did, it was the smallest corner. It wasn't in fruits and vegetables. It was maybe in something else, and you just couldn't find it. So what my mom had to do, and you know, talking about, and I think Mom talked about this a little bit on our Mother's Day thing, not exactly, but her supportive dad is. About 2 days a week, she had to drive to a co-op market in Santa Monica. What was it, twice a week, Dad? Tuesday and Friday, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was Monday and Friday, because I used to go with her on her Friday trips pretty regularly. I was in college. I would drive home, and because she was a long drive, and Dad was still working. So he'd be at work. That was one of Mom's helpful roles in his life, was to go to Santa Monica from where we're at. That's about an hour and 30-minute drive without traffic. With traffic. So she would leave at about 9 a.m. Her and I would get there on Fridays at 10:30. And this was an illegal co-op that did farmers only things. They would literally have Amish people drive state lines and deliver cheese and milk. And they would have other isolated communities bring eggs that haven't been dealt with, or raw eggs and raw milk that was kefir milk, non-pasteurized, which was back then completely illegal stuff. That was not legal. You go to Sprouts, you can even sometimes go to Albertsons, and they'll have kefir milk. Back then, like you would it was against the law to have those things. So I remember my mom would go, and there was this big Samoan guy that worked in the front. You would go sometimes, so you remember that kind of whole vibe. But there was this big Samoan guy who worked in the front, and to get in the co-op, you had technically have a membership to whatever they called it. It wasn't a market. It was whatever they called it. The something, artisans co-op or something. And it was a wood door with no windows in the whole property. There's no windows. And you would have to go and you, first of all, in order to get in there first and get your ID card, you had to tell that Samoan guy why you were there and what you needed. And then if you said the right things, he'd let you in, then you could buy your card. Then if you got your card, then you'd go and you show him your card. He would check your ID. So my mom would go. I couldn't even ever go with her because I didn't have an ID. I had an ID, but I didn't have a co-op card. So I had to wait in the car. And my mom would go to this windowless building with a big Samoan guy in the front. People would line up. And she would go, she would show her co-op card. He'd look at her ID, and then he'd let her in, and he'd stand back in front of the door. She'd have to bring her own grocery bags. And she would go, then she would get everything my dad needed, everything he studied. And so she would get his eggs, his cheese, his milk, his berries, everything. It had to be, and it was all from fresh farms, no pesticides, nothing, which again, back then, it was all illegal stuff. Like you couldn't have berries that
like
didn't get pesticide
Prohibition
sprayed.
era type stuff with alcohol they used to do.
So one day,
that's crazy.
So one day, me and my mom roll up. This is about probably 2 years into it. And I'd go maybe once or twice a month with her on a Friday to help her out. About 2 years into her doing this. So for about probably 2 years, every Monday and Friday, she did this for you. 52 weeks, we show up and there's the FBI SWAT team there, about 50 SWAT guys, and they shut the whole thing down. Amish people in handcuffs,
dirty.
Hippies in handcuffs. I mean, it's the craziest thing. Man. So that's probably now like 2011, right?
Welcome to America.
Bro.
This is America.
I'll watch someone selling, heroin and, meth on the corner and the cops ain't.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the same time, I'd go up to San Francisco in the Tenderloins, the TO or whatever it is, and people would be outwardly, doing drugs. Cops wouldn't do nothing. So here I am. A grocery store is being swatted.
Yeah, they'll give you free needles, right? They'll use government money to give you free
in
needles.
San Francisco. They're being swatted and shut down for what? Because they had unpasteurized milk. That's why they got swatted. Because they had unpasteurized milk.
No, I'm correct you on one thing.
Okay, correct.
It's because what they got called on, and it was, again, all that you said with officers, marshals.
Yeah.
They were just breaking everything. With anything that had a bottle, they shattered it on the ground, scared all the people that were there, were trying to intimidate the owners. But there was a law, and if I can't remember if it was butter. I want to say it was butter, but it could have been cheese, that the owner had gotten from Arizona, a farmer there, and he brought it over the border to California. And that was illegal. So they were shutting everything down because he brought it across the California border.
He brought Gouda over the border. I mean, it's insane. Yeah. And so I remember then mom came home and then told dad, and he was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? It's my whole diet. And that's kind of when you had to get creative and you started shipping stuff to you, right? You started calling farms and asking So you're calling places in Pennsylvania. You're calling places on Washington or whatever, because you needed honey,
aloe vera,
you needed eggs, aloe vera. So now weekly we'd be getting these these big boxes of foam inserts with ice packs, and you'd open it and it'd be like, oh, that's Dad's butter, that's Dad's cheese, that's Dad's milk, and you probably did that for 6 or 7 years until the health wave finally caught up in probably 2015, 16, something like that. And you still get some stuff shipped to you, right? Yeah. But overall, you're able to get about probably 90% of your diet from Sprouts.
Sure.
Now, yeah. I mean, so people don't realize, like, when he talks about his healing thing, they're like, that guy's part of the wave. You know,
it was underground. It was like the Underground Railroad.
His grocery store was getting swatted back then. You know, I mean, it's insane to conceptualize, right? But to see, like, when you put in the picture of what we're saying about pharmaceuticals and, doctors aren't encouraged to think about these things, like, this has been going on a very long time. The only reason why the FDA came up is because they saw money in it. I could put a certified organic button on it. And then even now, a lot of places are saying, right, Dad, like certified organic isn't even, because you could be like 10% non-organic and still put certified organic or something. So it's like, now you even got to go deeper with, it's like kind of like him. It's like, I want to know what farm this comes from. You know, I want to know what region this comes from, because now they've even loosened the reins, because then it became a money thing of, oh, yeah, well, if you pay us for that labeling, then you can, you know, we give you a little bit of grace in there to, you know, to not be organic. But so then they go, oh, okay, so we could slide in, we can put pesticides, but not as much. You know, we get that percentage, you know, of grace in
it's sad.
there,
Even
right?
in Maui, there was a bunch of people donating food, and they shut it down because it wasn't government controlled.
Yeah,
and
you get some of the
ridiculous.
thinking like, oh, well, you can make them sick or whatever, but you get it. But then at the same time, you're just like, this is silly, you know?
Yeah, and you're a big believer in goat milk, right?
I love
specifically,
goat milk.
And the health benefits of goat milk, correct?
Yeah, it's just it's easier on the digestive system. It processes better. But you know, if you just find unpastured, you can't find it. So, you know, if you could find it, that's great. You know.
Do sheep have the whole? Is sheep's the same? I know they're not the same thing, but because with sheep's, there's no such thing as a non-organic sheep meat, right? Because they reject any form of manipulation. As sheep, they'll die, right?
Yeah.
So almost all lamb.
Lamb. Yeah.
Well, like isn't
Lamb
sheep lamb?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's just a baby sheep, right? So I've heard like there's no such thing, and someone could Google and double check, but there's no such thing as organic or non-organic sheep meat, which you go back to Bible times, like what in the Jewish community, what are they eating most of the time? Most of the time they eat lamb. You cannot alter a lamb. You can't inject it. You can't shoot it up. You can't fast its growth hormones or anything. It's such an innocent, pure animal that if you mess with it, it'll die. It rejects whatever you try to do. So that's why they say lamb. So that my question was, is goat susceptibility the same as lamb? Like, is a goat a pretty pure creature in the way that a lamb is?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't have anything.
Goat meat is pretty good too.
I do do goat cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do goat cheese, and I do goat's milk. So those are the two things I do with a goat.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have Nancy do her question, and we went to 3 spiritual. Yeah.
So what would you tell somebody who, I mean, money-wise, you're talking about organic, high-fruit milk, all of that. It can be pretty expensive. But what advice would you give to somebody whose budget isn't there? I mean, I could think of some things, but what is something that you would probably advise somebody?
Well, first of all, I think it has to do with an attitude, and it has to do with a mentality. Because the reality is I've seen homeless people with cell phones. So where did they get the money to do that? And I don't mean to profile them. It's amazing when you want something, how you find the money for it. Plain and simple.
And you adjust your life to
if it's
to
a
fit
priority,
that.
if it's a passion. And I don't know, I think it's an alternative for people. And you have to make it a priority for people. Number 2, in my answer to that is, how much is it going to cost you to be sick?
Yeah. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like insurance.
Would you rather pay up front
Yeah.
so that you are going to prevent that? Because you will pay at some time or another.
What's the saying? Pay now or pay later.
Yeah, there you go.
You know.
Yeah. So if I spend 50 cents or $1.50 more on something, what does that equate to when I talk about the medicines I'm going to have to take? You know, and coming off work, you know, and any other, you know, added expenses. It's going to cost you more to have to pay the deductible on something. You know, your price on the whatever 33, you know, 3/4 of it might be paid by insurance, but you still have to come out of your pocket.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's great. Thank you.
And like you know, from what I see now is like it's the farming and organic industry is a pretty competitive market now. So it without inflation consideration, price for organic has relatively gone to, like, I remember the bills of your grocery when we had to go to that co-op. I mean, you're talking about a ridiculous amount of money, because that was, I mean, they're bringing it over borders, they're driving, flying it, all these things, packaging.
Wow.
But, you know, now it's a pretty available product.
Yeah, I remember one thing, like right now you could go to your local market and get coconut water.
Yeah.
You couldn't get that anywhere. So we'd go there and buy the coconuts.
Yeah.
Take the 24 or 36 home and crack them and drain them into mason jars.
And it was like $5 or $6 a coconut.
Yeah, it was like ridiculous.
So what are the
I remember
benefits
that
of
we'd help
coconut
you do
water?
it. Oh.
What are the health benefits?
Probiotics. It's fat. It's good fat, and it's filled with probiotics.
Okay.
It has electrolytes too, right?
Yes, and electrolytes, because that's part of my sports drink that I use.
You do frozen
I do
coconut water
coconut
and
water
let it thaw.
and water and a little bit of like grape juice.
I had a flashback. I remember those days. Me and Mom, we would stack the coconuts, bring them home, and I'd sometimes help you out. We'd rip the husk.
Wow,
I mean, you're talking about a
crazy.
full coconut from wherever we got it, Hawaii or wherever it shipped in from. But yeah, we'd get it, and then we'd have to break the green out even off of it sometimes. And then you'd get the knife. And Mom used to hate you do it, because you'd have a knife and you'd start cracking it. She'd
If I
always
wanted
say,
the meat.
Yeah, she'd always say, Diego, watch your hands. He'd get this big old knife and try to. No such thing. You're gonna go to the market and buy coconut water. It wasn't bottled. You know, like that's how crazy things have begun to, thankfully in a positive way, adjusted. So even when Dad started helping people now for over 10 years who themselves had cancer, it was very hard at first for them to find stuff. That's why we created our health center at the church, because the government didn't allow anything. So he did it out of, you know, the empathy of, we're going to do a health center, we're going to carry these products. And then now that the government has, you know, they were able to regulate it to whatever degree they wanted, but it's all pretty readily available. You know, it kind of, now it allowed people in much more of affordability.
Yeah.
But from what I've commonly heard people in our church, when they switch, it's about double your grocery bill.
Yeah, and it depends.
So,
I was going to add
you
this
know,
too. It depends what store you go to, because I can find certain things in food for less that's more affordable for me than going to Sprouts.
Yeah.
So you have to, it takes more time, and you have to be obviously like on the road to go to different places and make all those stops, but more time or more money, you have to make a decision. So I think that's another way
Costco has so many organic products there.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know,
organic honey, right?
Yeah, organic hummus,
honey,
vegetables.
meat. You get lamb.
Yeah.
You get lamb by the dozen. They do wild fish too, right? Salmon sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. It's definitely more expensive, but it's there.
It.
But you know, if we should all be doing it regardless. But if someone is sick, like, downgrade your car and switch the diet before you start. You know, not saying that your car is nice, just in general, if you could downgrade it, and that'll give you a little bit of money to add to your groceries and stuff like that. I think the biggest thing a big takeaway that Dad said is, because I've seen it over the years and I've seen him bleed for people, and whether it be pastors all over America and the world to members in our church. I think the one thing that I would say that if you're going to break his heart and really take for granted the time that he'll pour in you, is when you go to the doctor and they clear you and you go to Lucille's the next afternoon or that afternoon. You will crush this man if he finds out that you did that. That, all right, guys, I did it for 9 months. I did it for 2 years. Let's celebrate. You know, burgers on me. He'll be pretty hurt.
Yeah.
Not even mad. Just like, oh man, just. I've seen that over the years. You know, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then what was more heartbreaking is then we had seen over the years that then people a year after that, because they go back to their regular lifestyle and diet and cookouts and everything, that it comes back.
Right.
And then they try to go back on the diet, and sometimes it's too late at that point.
Right.
So that's always been heartbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Top three
Wait.
spiritual.
I want to go back to your sweat, because you are a big believer in infrared
Sustenance, sweat, and sleep. We'll make sure that should be part of the Beyond the Letter brand shirts.
That is that.
It's nice.
Good job, Chat GPT.
That's why we recently did that video, Corey's written, directed by AI. It's got benefits.
So infrared saunas. I know this is a hot topic in the health community. What are the health benefits of infrared saunas in regards to sweat?
So most people are familiar with saunas. They go into it in their local gym, and it's the old coals that you throw water on, or something of that nature, electric, and you sweat from pore level, which is fine. Indians have been doing it for thousands of years, and that's great. But infrared is different because it goes into the organs of the body. It goes deep into there and detoxifies and brings it out. So the benefits can be a few of them. The regular saunas I talked about, and then infrared. Number one, it's going to relax you. It's going to relax you. It helps with aches and pains and muscle issues. It helps you. It helps you to lower your blood pressure. People like this because it helps you to lose weight. But most of anything, it detoxifies us. It's the number one reason why I go in. I'm not going in there just to lose weight. I'm not going in there to bring my blood pressure down. I'm not going in there to deal with muscle aches and pains. It's to detoxify and to go deep into my organs of my body where toxins have taken place because of stress, bad diet, all the electrical technology stuff that puts out EMFs and extrapolate that from my body kind of thing. So that's nobody's going to have a pristine diet.
And it's a difference between a hot sauna and an infrared sauna.
Yeah, no one's going to have a perfect diet. So back to the thing, we don't know what the soil's like and the certification is like. You're right. You're absolutely right. But there's some other things that you could do, and that's where this exercise and sleep or stress, a sweat comes in. Whatever is not right, you can extrapolate that so that it doesn't grow to become something that's going to be troublesome in the future. And you're optimizing your immune system to attack it when it's in its smallest innocent form, to the beauty of how God's created our immune system, to attack toxins. Because cancerous cells goes through every human being. But your body sees it as an alien, and it attacks it before it could ever become a lesion or a growth or anything like that. It's when the immune system is not working at its optimum, it welcomes the cancerous and it grows in you. So that's why you really, really need to have a great immune system.
Yeah. Okay, so before you go top 3 spiritual, because that's what we'll close with. Number 1, if anyone wants to hear Pastor go more into the diet, you can go to our YouTube channel. Not just the healthy habits, as we were talking. I remember pre-COVID, he also did I think a 2-part series called God's Health and Healing Train. So you can go to YouTube, you go type in, if you're interested more into these things, Abundant Living Family Church, God's. It's his channel. It's his channel? Oh, it's Diego Mesa? Oh, okay. Or you go to Pastor Diego Ministries YouTube, and I feel like if you just type in God's Health Healing Train, wherever it is, pops up. But if Nancy said it's on Pastor's YouTube channel when we were running his television ministry, and she could link them in the bios too. I forget, we have such a sharp team. And then if you know anyone that has an illness that's been struggling, really, really defeated, really discouraged. Pastor Diego has a book called How to Dream When You're Told You're Going to Die. This is his story, goes deeper into some of the 3 spiritual things that he's going to talk about right now, some of his prayer verses. I just met a couple on Saturday. They have a family member, like their daughter actually is really sick, and I asked them about if they knew about your book, and they didn't. So it's just crazy how, you just assume everybody knows about your story or stuff, and they had I didn't know Pastor Diego had cancer. They didn't know, and I think it'd been coming about 6 months now. So it's always good to rehash this stuff. So I think either on his website, diegomesa.org, or if you physically come to our church, you can always find it in the bookstore, How to Dream When You're Told You're Gonna Die. I recommend that. Anytime someone gets sick, I say, you got to read this book, because it's just encouraging about his story and gives you some faith perspective to it as well. So those would be some other resources that I point in your direction. You want to go deeper, give us your top 3 spiritual going through an illness. What was your anchors, faith and spiritual wise, that top 3?
It was the 175 healing scriptures found in the Bible that I had just accumulated. But you can Google healing scriptures and get them from there. That
Your book has them too, right?
The book has it too.
It has it in the
but
end.
I would read those 175 scriptures every day. I did it for about 4 years consistently, and I could probably tell you, I missed in those 4 years less than the fingers on my one hand. So I did it consistently. It took me about 20 minutes. The second thing was I prayed. I prayed life into me based on how I felt. I go through the skeleton of my body. I say my hair is healed, my scalp is healed, my eyes are healed, my nose is healed, and I work through every organ and tissue, blood of my body, and I'd speak healing to that and say, by Jesus' stripes I'm healed, and I'd call the organ of my body out and say that it was healed. So it was the Word of God, it was the prayer, confession, and I think the third thing that people forget is just releasing any sins out of their lives, any unconfessed sins, because a lot of people are carrying so much unforgiveness and bitterness against people.
Yeah.
That is one of the most toxic things that I think hinders, and many people can't make the connection and connotation that how can this negative emotion be hooked up to my physical health?
Yeah.
But it is, because we're a triune being, spirit, soul, and body. And though you may not feel the results or the effects of it immediately, you keep living that lifestyle, and I promise you, 10, 15, 20 years from now, it's going to destroy you. So it was for me to go down the journey. Is there anyone I'm holding unforgiveness toward, or an offense toward, or bitterness toward? And I release them, and I forgive them. And so that's the 3 spiritual.
Yeah. Close with this thought to those that may be listening that go, the last 3, the last one, third one, that's cool. But your first 2, the healing scriptures that you read, and then your confession over your body. I mean, that's kind of word of faith jargon. That just, like, good for you, but that's not doing anything. And I know people who've done it, who have passed and blah, blah. Like, what is your response? Because I know people have posed those thoughts to you, questions. You also know that level of criticisms exists, but you've really expanded that thought over the years. Like, even in your preaching, when I even heard you preach at other churches, like, you are overly clear to say, I'm not promising you bad isn't going to happen, but this is what I am saying this is. Like, how would you respond to someone who would say that?
Well, number one, I'm not the healer. I can't heal anybody. My story is my story, and I have the right to tell my story.
Yeah, right.
Everybody's healing journey is a little bit different. So I'd say get before God and let you and God decide the path and journey that you're going to take, and be committed to that. And there might be variations from mine, but that's what's important. Because right now you're being bombarded with fear and doubt and unbelief and negativism, and you're going to have to find truth for yourself, whatever that truth is. And so that's why it's my conviction, because I believe that's the road that God took me down. But it's also the principles of just simply, again, what I believe to be in the Bible, that when Satan came against Jesus, he said, "It is written." He quoted the word of God. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And so I just believe there is power in the word, that the word won't return void. But, Diego, are there some people that do these things and they don't receive their healing? Yes. But I chose to say I'm going to be the one that is going to be healed, because of all the healings in the Bible, I can't find one person that came to Jesus and asked to be healed that didn't get healed. So it's not my job to try to explain something that the Bible doesn't show me. I'm going to choose to say there were multitudes in the crowd, but maybe he pulled out one person to get healed, and I'm going to be that one person kind of thing. And you just have to be like, have that audacity and ornery faith when it comes to something like that. So, we only know in part. I don't have all the answers for everybody. Nobody really knows. And then we judge someone and says, well, they did that and it didn't get the result. Well, the reality is I don't really know what they did. I wasn't with them 24/7. Mm-hmm. I've heard people say, I really am believing God for my healing. And the next thing out of their mouth is, I just want to go see Jesus. I want to go to heaven. And that's great because the Bible says that's more desirable. Mm-hmm. So I can't always explain all the results to people, but that's what I try to do, to bring some level of compassion or empathy to whatever decision they're going to make.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I mean, I reconciled. It's like it's a fight of faith. Yep. It's a daily fight. And you know, because me and Caleb, we shared on this podcast, like we didn't come from the school of thought. There was a time where we went off and became cessationalists and didn't necessarily believe in those things. But I think over the years, as I've seen, God work, it's kind of that idea of, we only know in part, we only see in part, but God also gives us the practice of prayer, request, thanksgiving, making your petitions known, and God works on behalf of those. It's a handshake. There's a coupling process that takes place. And so if you start to say, God, I'm done, or God, I'm going to believe for healing in this area, but I'm done with that person. I hate that person. And you're holding on to grudge. There's so many elements that just come into play that I think, because we have Reformed people that listen to our podcast too and stuff like that. So, but I think it's a very healthy view. And the way that you have preached it over the years has gotten much more in the sense, to me, palatable for someone that may be more of the Reformed faith or anything like that, because it has a coupling with God's sovereignty and our faith, and there's a handshake that's happening, and I just choose that my end of the extension of the handshake is going to be, give me another 50 years, and if God shakes your hand and say, no, I want you here now. Okay. Well, we only know in part of what that is actually doing, so yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, that closes it out. If you guys made it this far, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. This is one we've shared a couple times that we wanted to have with Pastor Diego and go deeper on health.
It's always an honor to be with my sons. Thank you for allowing me.
Yes, you could come back anytime that you would like.
Yeah.
So
this is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right, everybody. See you guys next episode. Right. Blessings.